We want to look at another question on the money market. We're the only bank in the economy is a central bank, and there are no commercial banks accepting deposits from the public. Here we want to see what happens if we assume that money does pay some interest. And we want to see how will that affect money demand curve and what will be the effect on the equilibrium interest rate. So we're deviating from the assumption that we made that money pays no interest, in order to see what if money does pay some interest, what's going to change things in that. So over here, what we're doing, so we're going to understand this graphically. So we're going to make our graph. Like the first part talks about how, the question first talks about how we need to plot a mini market diagram. So on the vertical axis, we have interest rate on bonds I. Remember, I represents the interest rate on bonds, and now we're assuming IN represents the interest rate on money, right? And this is money M. This is the money supply curve, which we know is drawn vertical at the level of money supply fixed by the central bank. Then we have a downward sloping money demand curve. And we're starting from equilibrium, so we just make this A and this is I star. So initial equilibrium is, now the question says, suppose IM increases, which is the interest rate on money. Now once we are saying that, okay, assume that money does pay you interest IM. Now the opportunity cost, it's the opportunity cost of holding wealth in form of money, because we know, okay, we're here assuming there are two financial assets in which you can keep your wealth, money or bonds, of holding wealth in form of money rather than interest bearing bond. But in this case, we're also obviously assuming money pays interest, although in the text we did not, rather than bonds, is now I minus I am. I am now and not I. Initially, the opportunity cost of holding wealth in the form of money rather than bonds was I, right? Because bonds are earning an interest, money was not. Now we're assuming, okay, assume the money also pays you some interest, IM, which is less than I. So now the opportunity cost of holding wealth in the form of money is I minus IM. So this is the additional interest that you have foregone that you could have gotten by holding bonds. An increase in IM will decrease the opportunity cost So it will decrease the opportunity cost of holding money for any given I. So as a result of this, money demand will increase for any given I. So as a result of this, money demand curve will shift to the right. So we've answered the first part where we have to talk about what happens to the money demand curve. Indeed, shifts. Let me just write this properly. So MD increases, MD shifts to the right. Right, so money demand curve shifts towards the right. Now let's shift it towards the right. Right, so the idea is this, that when we're saying you start off at initial equilibrium at A, then the interest rate on money increases. Now we know the opportunity cost of holding wealth in the form of money rather than bonds is I minus I. So now when IM increases, the opportunity cost of holding wealth in form of money goes down as it for any given interest rate, right? For any given I, the opportunity cost has gone down. So the money demand increases for any given I, thus the money demand could shift towards the right. So now new equilibrium will be at A prime will be now at A prime, where it will be at the intersection of new money demand curve and unchanged money supply. Because we're assuming the central bank is not changing money supply. in response to changing money demand. Supply curve. So this is the new equilibrium at intersection of the new money demand curve and the new money supply curve. And as we can see over here, for a given money supply, I increases. So the interest rate on bonds goes up. So this was all about seeing how if we allow money to earn some interest, how that will affect the money demand curve and equilibrium interest rate in the money market.